Hello and welcome everyone to Legendary Lunacy. I'm your host, Lord Papa Lunacy. Back again with another creepypasta. I'm gonna try and keep it short, sweet, and to the point. This is An Unexpected Magi by Sean TFB Tivenan. I don't know what TFB... The F-Boy? I'm not sure. Anyways, An Unexpected Magi by Sean Tivenan. Donde está Santa Claus was blaring on the radio as Gary crossed over the state lines into somewhere. He lost track of where he was hours ago. Somewhere Midwesty? He was driving back to East for Christmas. Too cheap to fly, he thought he'd take the opportunity to get to see America. The real America. Turns out most of the real America was lots of nothing, next to lots of scenic nothing. No cars on the highway except him. It was late. Dashboard displays said 2:17 a.m. Ooh, close. Taking his eyes off the endless stretch of highway, he glanced up to the night sky. And for the briefest of moments, he swore the moon looked green. Squinting, he could see it plainly was not. Just a big old circle in the sky, made of cheese, like they always said. It's amazing what you think you see after 17 hours on the road. He smeared his open palm across his face, trying to get the sleep out of his eyes by force. The husk of 5-hour energy containers littered the passenger seat. He instinctively reached for another pick-me-up, but swore as he remembered he'd sucked dry the last one about 80 miles back. He needed to find somewhere to crash for a few hours. He definitely needed to gas up, maybe grab some food. The sign he flew by offering everything he was looking for, and plus the biggest vacuum in the continental U.S., was too good of an offer to pass up. Pulling into town, he coasted over to the gas station. The prices were ridiculous, but Gary didn't exactly have the wealth of options. They must have gotten greedy from all the tourism and vacuum brought in. He had passed the celebrated home appliance as he made his way into town, green and red lights shining on its little placard. Could have been taller than 6 feet. The eighth wonder of the world. As he stood outside his Honda in the bitter cold, Gary saw the neon glow of a sign promising donuts, burritos, and hot dogs, and his stomach rumbled. Between sleep and hunger, it looked like hunger was going to come out on top. He looked around as he rubbed his hands together for warmth. Amidst the shuttered shops and the gray buildings that made up the small town, he could see a diner across the street. Whatever they got had to be better than, he assumed, day-old hot dogs. The pump stopped with a loud gulp. He placed it back in its gas-soaked cradle, inserted his card, tossed the receipt, and drove 100 yards over to the diner. He saw a cop car parked out front. A middle-aged policeman appeared to be dozing inside, half-finished Twix bar in hand. Yes, the donuts at the gas station weren't up to snuff, Gary thought, as he slammed the car door shut and pushed open the sleek metallic entrance to the diner. The bell above the door jingled brightly, alerting the diner patrons of the new arrival. 5 or 6 other people were scattered throughout, munching on curly fries and slurping milkshakes. Not exactly a happening spot. Gary walked over to the counter and took a seat on one of the round, bright red stools. In moments, he was greeted by a stocky man in a paper chef's hat. It was green. Weren't they always white? I don't know. Gary was staring at the hat for a few seconds before the man spoke. "What can I get you, pal?" He tossed Gary a menu and started wiping his hands on his already filthy apron. Gary didn't bother looking at the menu. Double bacon cheeseburger, mid-rare, curly fries, 2 waffles, and a Coke in the largest glass you got. The chef nodded in approval. "You got it, Chief. Be about 15 minutes. After a few seconds, the chef plopped a football-sized glass in front of Gary, completely shielding him from view. It was large and plastic, and the container itself seemed too slimy and undulated with it. Seemed to shimmy and undulate with the absurd amount of soda and ice cubes floating around inside. Gary shifted the glass slightly so that he could see the chef and thanks him. "No problem, bud." The chef casually dropped a straw in front of Gary. Gary ripped off the paper sleeve of the straw and dropped it into the glass. It disappeared instantly, vanishing under all those dark bubbles. Leaning over the side of the counter, Gary grabbed a few more straws, fished out the drowned straw, fashioned them into one elephant trunk of a device, and dropped it into the drink greedily and began to suck it down. He didn't realize how thirsty he was until all that ice-cold, fizzy lifeblood was flooding his system. He was so distracted in caffeine-fueled ecstasy, he hadn't noticed the presence behind him. "You want to see the Christ child?" the voice said. "Who? What?" Gary sputtered, almost falling out of his diner stool. "The Christ child. You want to see him?" The man was dressed in an army surplus jacket. He was riddled with stains that drew attention away from the greasy hair that hung around his face in stark patches. Regaining his composure in his seat, Gary responded to the man. "Look, buddy, I'm not an idiot. He's born on Christmas, not before. If you want to run a scam, at least you get your facts right. If you're looking for a handout, I don't have any cash. I got waffles coming, though. You want some, they're yours. Just leave me alone." The dirty man stared at Gary, no reaction in his eyes. The other patrons in the diner looked like they were doing their best to ignore the entire scene. The grill chef shared a glance with Gary and rolled his eyes, but the dirty man stood like a statue, staring at Gary unblinking. It was impossible for Gary to ignore the dirty man's presence. And finally, he swiveled his diner stool slightly to the dirty man's direction. "All right, I'll bite. What is it? You trying to unload some Christmas cards before the season's over? You got a dog in a box out there with a halo stapled to its head? What's the angle?" Through filthy teeth, the dirty man responded. The dirty man smiled. "No angle. You come out. I show you the Christ child. And if you don't believe 100% that he is what I say, I pay for your dinner." Gary considered the prospect of a free and clear dinner. It would cap off his stay in Nowheresville and give him time a great story for Christmas dinner. "Lead on, champ." Gary turned to the cook as he got off his stool. "I'll take a check when I get back. This gentleman has generously agreed to take care." "Not yet." The dirty man cut in with his unblinking stare. "Okie doke then. Let's go." The dirty man led him out the doors of the diner into his crisp, gray winter night. They walked 2 blocks down the street, passing the empty and shuttered shop windows. "It's right down here." The dirty man pointed in the direction of the alleyway. Gary stopped and peered down the filthy, empty passage. Shadows dancing in the trash and discarded pizza boxes. He had a few inches and at least 50 pounds on this guy if he tried to pull anything. He could have a gun or a knife, but he didn't think so. He didn't look like the twitchy type. But he didn't want to be stupid. "Go right ahead, bud. This is a follow the leader situation." The dirty man's smile never left his face. "Sure, man." In the dim illumination of the corner streetlight, they navigated the alley. The dirty man led him to a small box at the far side. Almost touching the brick dead end, he pointed. "In there. Open it up and you'll see." Gary maneuvered around the box, so he had his back to the wall and was facing the dirty man. He looked down at the small, slightly damp-looking cardboard and smiled. "Free dinner and then back on the road." He opened the flaps and looked inside, and he stared silently. After a minute or two, he reached in and pulled something out. It was a small shape wrapped in a bundle of torn clothes. Pulling back the cloth covering, it revealed a child. A child with the most striking and beautiful green eyes he'd ever seen. As he held the child, Gary felt like he was plunged into the ocean of calm. Every fear, every worry he'd ever had fled like shadows in the night sunlight. With tears welling in his eyes, he turned to the man who extended an invitation to meet his savior. I never really believed. It just didn't make sense to me, but this..." He looked down at the smiling child. "This makes sense." An energized look crossed Gary's face. Who else can we tell? Everybody has to know about this. Everybody..." He was cut off by the large set of jaws that clamped down and tore out his throat. In his pain and panic, he dropped the child, its tiny mouth stained with crimson. Faster than he thought possible, arms reached out to catch the baby. Arms belonging to the dirty man. Sliding down the brick wall of the alley, Gary ripped off his sleeve and stuffed it against his spurting open wound on his neck in a desperate attempt to staunch the bleeding. That's not the Christ child, he choked out, struggling to stay conscious. The dirty man stroked the light tufts of hair on the baby's head as he spoke. Oh, it's the Christ child, all right. He motioned to his opening in the alley. The diner patrons, the grill chef, even the sleeping cop he had passed, parked in the patrol car. They were gathered there, crowding out the light, all staring with their brilliant green eyes. It's just not your Christ child. It's ours. The dirty man smiled, his dead-eyed smile. And every Christ child needs gifts. Thank you for bringing the first. The last thing Gary ever saw was the dirty man lowering that thing, wrapped in swaddled clothes, down to his level. It gurgled as its tiny face split apart to make way for endless rows of shiny red-stained teeth. That's a terrifying little story. That's a good one. I like that a lot. I wonder if there's more about this guy. Let's save that one for later so I can find out more about the guy. Well, thank you all very much for watching. If you have any ideas for more stories in the future, let me know. Comment down below. If you liked this, tell us what you liked. If you didn't, tell us what you didn't. As always, sit back, relax, and enjoy the darkness around you. Because, hey buddy, it's going to be there one way or another. Tune in next time. Love you guys.